I'm starting practicing, I really like to practice basic stuff, and I really like to practice one single thing for a long time, and I start with an idea or something that I learned and I look where it takes me. So one thing that I didn't mention in the video on YouTube is that I really like to play the diminished arpeggio over the A7 and the A7 is so important because it's the 5 chord, right? It's where you can put all the tension and then you can relieve it to the D minor chord. And for the moment, I'm not going to think about the E half diminished. If changes are moving a little bit faster, you can forget about the 2 chord, but it's important that you have some tension and release going on. So what I'm doing is I'm playing an A7 arpeggio. You have the PDF, right? There's also the A7 arpeggio. So just playing it. And then instead of playing the A, playing the B flat. And then it's sort of an A7 flat 9 arpeggio or a B flat diminished arpeggio, D flat diminished arpeggio. And it's a nice little trick. If you know your arpeggios, you just can swap out the A for the B flat. And then I just would play it for a little while and listen to the guitar, how it sounds. Have a sip of coffee. Okay, it's just trying really to hear something. And then I already thought, oh, there's this Django Reinhardt thing, like playing 2 notes per string, right, with a diminished arpeggio. It's all minor thirds, just starting on the B flat. And yes, this is a nice way to play a diminished arpeggio over the fretboard. It's very symmetrical. And today I'm in the mood for the freezer, not the looper, so I would record an A7. And then just play that arpeggio. And another thing that you can do is to play the half note whole note scale on this 5 chord. It's not your typical altered sound, but it sounds cool. And then you can resolve it to a D minor chord, right? I like to play a D minor 6 chord because I like the 6 on the D minor chord so much, and it's a B, right? And then I'm thinking, oh, that's great, I'm having the B flat from the A7 chord. Sorry. And then I can just move up a half note and play a descending minor 6 arpeggio. I'm going to talk about that arpeggio in a second, but first I want to play it a little bit and let's hear how it sounds. yes, if you think about it, the -6 chord is really nothing else than an inversion of a half diminished chord. So that means if you know your half diminished arpeggios, you already know your -6 arpeggios as well. So if you're looking at this chord D-6, it's like 1, 5, 6 minor third. But you think the B would be the root, then it would be like minor third, flat 7, root, flat 5. So always keep that in mind, that the half diminished is an inversion of a -6 chord, and that you can also think about that when you're using your arpeggios, right? So this is one little trick, like playing an A7 flat 9 arpeggio. And yes, so this is something that I've been thinking about, and I also want to mention that the accompaniment can always be very intricate, lots of chords, lots of moving voices, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to play something very complicated in your improvisation. You always can shrink a lot of stuff back to 5/1, but I just wanted to say, when you're playing a 2-5-1 in minor, you could also be playing like a 1-6-2-5 in minor. In D minor, that would be like D-6, B half diminished, on the 6th degree as 1, 6, 2. And I'm sure you have been seeing this kind of chord progression quite often. And if you think about those 4 chords, you can do a lot of stuff with those chords. That's why I want to show it to you. So we're going to keep our D minor as the tonic, of course, but already we can play all dominant 7th chords instead of half diminished chords. So we would be playing D-6, B dominant 7th, E7 instead of the half diminished chord, and then A7. And then we could start using some tritone substitutes. Let's substitute the 2nd chord, which has become a B7, and turn it into an F7, E7, and then also turn the E flat 7 and the A7 into an E flat 7. Then we have sort of a falling dominant chain of 3 dominant 7th chord. And then we can look for things like leaving the top note where it is, or maybe even some parallel motion. Just fool around with it. And of course you could also say D-6, B half diminished, B dominant 7, and then make tritone substitute of the E7, B flat 7 and A7. And still in your mind, when you're improvising, you just think 5-1. You know what's really comes in handy is if you understand how you get to those chords, but also if you see them somewhere else, you might understand that's only a very intricate 5-1 in minor, and somebody did some voice leading and some chords, but in the core of it, it's only a 5-1 in minor. And that's why I would urge you to transpose everything that you practice into different keys. It really helps hear stuff, but it also really helps recognize stuff, because sometimes when we are in another key, things that we normally would understand immediately, we don't understand. We don't see the 5-1s, the 2-5-1s, and that's good if you know how stuff translates into another key. Another thing that I want to show you, which is really cool, is replacing the E half diminished and the A7 with sort of a Phrygian chord. So instead of playing E half diminished and A7, you'd be playing my favorite voicing, B flat major sharp 5 with the A in the bass, and we solve it to the D minor 6. And then you could play like a Phrygian sound. So what am I thinking? So I'm thinking the 5 chord is A7. If I want to have a more modern sound, I could turn a 5 chord into an A Phrygian chord. Very often you would find the chord symbol sus4 flat 9. That just means use the Phrygian sound. And then I'm thinking, okay, in which key is A Phrygian? Where can I find it? So Phrygian, right, that would be on the 3rd degree, like Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian. So in which key do I have the Phrygian scale on the 3rd degree, right? In F major. So I'm basically playing the F major scale starting from the A in this position. And then I can resolve it to the D minor 6 chord. So I'm just thinking, but I have been using another voicing, right? I have been using the B flat major sharp 5 chord, and now that would have like a 13, but if I'm using the F major scale, I'm having like a flat 13, so that would be a call for a I'm sorry, it's so complicated, for the G melodic minor scale. So basically you can be thinking A Phrygian, play the F major scale and resolve it to the D minor. Or you could also be thinking B flat major sharp 5, and then resolve it to the D minor. It's just like two different sorts of Phrygian, I'd say. And yes, for example, with Stella, this is a place where you can use it, right? Yeah. So what else do I have? And yes, one word about the minor 6 chord. I really like to use a minor 6 chord if I'm having a tonic sound, but sometimes it's also very cool to play the D Dorian D minor 7 chord on the 1st degree. Just make sure that you can hear the difference between the two chords, between the minor 6 and the minor 7, and then make your own choice which note or which chord you use, but don't throw them all in one bag. Yes, that's it for today. I hope I could help you a little bit. Let me know if you have something that I should talk about. I would be thinking maybe to make a video about 251 in major. Let me know if that is something for you, and I see you next week. Bye.